My name is Dr. Garrett Hallwig. I have spent the last 14 years as a psychiatrist helping others discover the truth about our reality. This provocative Time cover last month asked, "Is truth dead?" For Time magazine to ask such a question, if truth was alive, there must have been a standard of truth. Perhaps Time asks this question because the current narrative is anyone can have their own truth and all truths are equally valid. You have your truth, I have my truth. Can't we all just get along? Logic tells us all truths cannot be valid. Not having the truth can be deadly. How do we solve this modern dilemma? All truths are equal. How do we discover truth? The truth is arrived at through observations and logic. Why should we seek truth? The truth impacts our thinking, emotions, and behaviors. It has real-life consequences. The closer your truth is to the truth, the better your thinking, emotions, and behaviors. There is a park nearby my house where neighbors gather at sunset and stop to admire the aesthetic beauty. Something inside of them is compelled to watch the sun drop below the horizon of the Pacific, painting the sky with brilliant hues of pink, orange, and red. Meanwhile, my dog is perfectly oblivious. She could care less about the artwork illuminating the sky and adorning the Pacific. Have you ever wondered why part of our identity as humans is to notice and appreciate aesthetics like sunsets? Some would argue identities are pre-programmed for reasons like mating. Consider my patient Frank. He cheated on his wife. Frank tells me it was his nature to look at pretty women. One of these looks turned into a relationship and then an affair. Frank told me, but I'm really not that kind of a guy. Deep down, I'm really a family man. So which is it? What is Frank's true identity? Why do we do things we know will hurt others? Our experience tells us the world is broken. Look around. You'll find illness, hurtful relationships, divorce, suffering, injustice, natural disasters, poverty, war, death. We spend our time avoiding the truth of this brokenness through entertainment, video games, Facebook, possession and things, trollopy relationships, occupation and school, being busy, parenting, or even escape the reality with alcohol and drugs. Who are we really? Are we that cheating philanderer? Or are we just some guy who enjoys sunsets? Tonight, we will discover, aligning ourselves with our true self, we can think clearer, express our emotions better, and act our best. Do we create our own identity, or do we have a true identity waiting to be discovered? We live in a selfie culture and create certain images on our Facebook and Instagrams. What influences how we choose to portray ourselves? If you were asked at a cocktail party, tell me about yourself, how would you answer? The only cultural imperative is to be yourself. But what self is my true self? In our modern Western culture, there's an assertive expression of self. Our worth comes from ourself or like-minded supporters saying, be yourself. We believe self is invented from within. Traditionally, identity was defined by family and heritage, like arranged marriages or the family trade. Parents still try to determine our careers or who we will marry. We push back, like Elsa sings from the movie Frozen, Let It Go, or Facebook posts say, so-and-so said I should be this way, but I went out and did this. And the replies are, you go, girl. We can choose to identify with any identity. Identity is voluntary. We make identities comprised of two parts, self-image and self-worth. Self-image is typically defined by women with relationships. I'm the wife of so-and-so. I'm a mother of 3 kids. Usually with men, it's occupation. I'm a dentist, engineer, banker, lawyer. Sometimes through high school cliques like athlete or band member, artist, musician, dancer, or identifying qualities and characteristics: friendly, kind, pretty, reliable, or even special interests or viewpoints like Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Vegetarian, Green Bay Packer fan. The second part of our identity is self-worth. Self-worth leads to our feelings about ourselves and the world around us. What we value most, we devote our time, energy, and resources to develop. We work out if we value fitness. We also find worth from approval of someone or some group. How many likes did it get? What would your parents think? We find worth from achievement of something. We get degrees from fancy schools that provide a stamp of approval that we are worthy. Be yourself is fleeting and emotionally unsatisfying. If you define yourself with your occupation or family or looks or achievements, this self-made identity we create can be lost. I work with many parents in their 50s who have defined their entire life as the parents of their kids. So when their kids are out of the house, they feel like they are living as roommates or even strangers. What if you were Tiger Woods and a better golfer comes along? What if your identity is being rich and you lose all your money? What if your identity is being smart and you have a stroke, decreasing your intellect? What if you worked a lifetime for an organization to bring peace to the world, only to learn it empowered a generation of terrorists? What if you were a famous musician, won a bunch of awards, and still felt so empty you wanted to die? Do we stop being who we are? Success can make you feel good for a moment, but in excess can lead to arrogance. Falling short of your expectations can build humility, but prolonged can breed discontent, insecurities, and feeling insignificant. Unlike self-made identities, our true identity is discoverable. Our true identity is not something easily taken away. It is lasting, and we all want to be remembered. Our identity seeks approval to find its worth. We seek approval from people. Women seek approval from other women who think being worthy is being a woman who is skinny or sexy. Men buy cars they can't afford with a certain logo on the hood to feel approved because their colleagues associate their self-worth with a car choice. How we think about our own identities can make us feel prideful and arrogant if we feel we've earned the mark of approval or worthiness. Imagine a wealthy trust fund kid says they are disgusted by the poor. What if our true identity always made us feel humble? Like this trust fund kid compared himself to Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. How we think about ourselves and our own identities can also make us feel insecure and insignificant if we haven't earned the standard of approval. As a student at UC Irvine, I was a walk-on for the diving team. This stern panel of judges, eager to rate my performance from 1 to 10, looked on as I stood at the edge of a diving board. Sometimes thoughts raced into my head. What if you miss? Now, a miss in diving can spell disaster. You can hit the edge of the board with your head or spin too fast, open late, and belly flop. When that thought raced into my head, what if you miss? I would always talk back to it and say, even if I miss and crash bad, my mother is still going to love me. It seems ridiculous. As a college student, I needed to know I was valued and loved in a vulnerable situation. What if our true identity always made us feel we were of supreme worth, incredibly valuable, and loved, even when we belly flopped? Let's recap our truths about identity. A true identity cannot be taken away. A true identity is one we voluntarily choose to align with. A true identity is humble, yet at the same time is one of supreme worth, valuable, and loved. When we don't get approval, we can be too sensitive to what others think. If we rely on others for what matters most, without their approval, we can feel insecure and inferior. This is like a mother who puts her child in timeout. Her child yells, "I hate you." The mother lets her out of timeout because she feels sad. Her worth as a mother is challenged, and her child's opinion matters most. She is too sensitive, feels insecure and inferior to her child. On the other hand, we can be too callous to what others think. If we don't value others, we can feel dismissive and superior. This is like the banker who accepts a bonus despite layoffs because he feels no one understands the hard work and sacrifice he puts into his job. He dismisses the voices of dissenters telling him, how can you accept a bonus at a time like this? He feels too calloused, dismissive, and superior towards others. A true identity values everyone, but doesn't rely on the approval of others. Not only do individuals have wrong ideas about what to approve, our culture has wrong ideas about what to approve. The culture today pressures teen girls to be sexualized. Men are expected to provide a castle, ride in on a white horse, even in a failing economy or a poor job market. Women are expected to balance a career, motherhood, and remain youthfully attractive. Ironically, our culture promotes harmful identities through approval. Our true identity finds its value beyond cultural approval. Yet, we are compelled to find approval. We cannot approve ourselves. A famous actor was telling me about his agent. He called him a necessary evil. I asked him, what do you mean by that? He explained, well, you can't represent yourself. You need someone else to tell the studios how good you are. Our true identity only comes at the approval of a worthy approver. This worthy approver does not have confused ideas about who we should be. A worthy approver likes only universally positive traits of our identity. All people have wrong ideas about what is worthy or not worthy of approval. All cultures have wrong ideas about what is worthy or not worthy of approval. Who is worthy to approve our true identity? A worthy approver would be beyond challenge, beyond reproach, richer than the richest, smarter than the smartest, the most powerful, and most knowledgeable. A worthy approver is the truth. This worthy approver would know an infinite capacity for love even when hated. This worthy approver would know an endless expression of joy, peace in all circumstances, patience beyond any pressure of time, goodness independent of result or outcome, gentleness approachable by all, kindness felt by all, faithfulness exceeding the most loyal friend, self-control to navigate any situation. Let's summarize these points about our truths of identity. A true identity preserves the value of all beyond the approval of any. A true identity finds its value beyond cultural approval. A true identity finds approval in a worthy approver. Who is a worthy approver? A worthy approver is an image of God. Remember from last week, we are created beings from a creator with a known identity. Then by design, we are created beings, wonderfully made, in the likeness of God. We must be creatures of supreme worth if we are loved by God. What would it mean to discover a God-given identity? To take on our true identity? To claim our true self? Martha told me, I got the right degree from the right university. I work out 5 hours a week. I have an important job, but worry about my child being looked after by strangers in daycare. I've done everything society tells me I should to create a complete identity. Why do I still feel frustrated, anxious, and continue to seek approval from the wrong people? How does Martha choose her true identity? The world around us tells us to create an identity, but there is a discoverable true identity to align with. The Time magazine cover implies there is no truth. We just make up our identities. One is no better than the rest. However, as we have seen, we are all seeking a lasting identity. We all feel the identities we construct are never enough. We all seek approval from misguided approvers. If there is a plan for our identity, a plan from the one who designed us, then our true identity would be discoverable by knowing God. In God, there exists an identity. Deep down, we all want to be more like. Despite this, we still choose traits hurtful to ourselves and others. We all prefer someone who is charitable over someone who is greedy. We like the truth over someone who is deceptive. Being around someone courageous encourages and empowers us to not act cowardly. Someone who is humble makes us feel better than someone who is prideful. We are attracted to those who are loving over hateful people. These characteristics are not only what we desire in others, they are the standard of a worthy approver. These universally agreed upon traits come from somewhere. Where do they come from? In order to be a worthy approver, to judge what is worthy, this approver must be the most charitable, the most active, innovative, creative, inventive, the most truthful, the most courageous, the humblest, the freest, the most self-sacrificing, the most loving, the meekest, the most orderly. This week, we learned more about the characteristics of God. His design has purpose for our lives because we can know our true identity is created in His image, valuable, with supreme worth, and loved. And we are humbled before this most worthy approver. Choosing our true identity is an identity that lasts, one we choose. It is a humble identity, but one of supreme worth, and values everyone, but is beyond others' approval or culture's approval. Our true identity finds approval in a worthy approver, God. When I think of the creator of the universe offering an example of a perfect human identity like Jesus, whose personhood fits perfectly with the scrutiny of time, observation, and logic, I cannot think of a truer or more real identity. Our true identity is accessible in a relationship with God. What is your real identity? Please leave comments below and share your thoughts on identity. And don't forget, next week, May 4th, we will discuss the meaning of life. Thanks for writing in your responses.